This is the Obsessive Gamer giving his review today on the one and only Fire Emblem Awakening. That's right, I, the Obsessive Gamer, am going to review the game that had so much hype to it, okay, not so much, but still sold so well, and now, get ready for a review about war strategies, awkward conversations, and now marriages. So well, I guess I should review what Fire Emblem even is. Originally, they were made in Japan back way during the NES days. There were like a bunch of games on the NES, bunch on the SNES, nothing on the N64, and finally, bam, they came here on the GBA. Of course, we missed one. Freaking NOA. Of course, the first one we got was just called Fire Emblem here. It was, in my opinion, the best Fire Emblem to date. Then this game came in, Fire Emblem Awakening. I looked at it first. It looked pretty cool. It reminded me of Path of Radiance just because of the 3D architecture. So how was it? Let's talk about it now. Well, as soon as you start up the game, you're first given characters to make. This is rather new for us. Not really new for Japan because the last one on the DS let you also create an avatar. Fortunately, it never was released here. Freaking NOA. But thanks to the fact that we now have that here, we have a whole selection of customization. So the story begins off in the dungeon here with one enemy and both your characters level 20, including your new avatar that you made.
Right.
Wow, they're really giving us a good push at the beginning, huh? So we go and kill this guy, and voila.
You alright? That's the end of him. Thanks to you, we carried the day. We can rest easy now.
This is the intro. But then all of a sudden, bam! From is hurt. And yeah, pretty much looks like he died. Wow, well, that escalated rather quick. But then we see that you wake up in a field by Crom. But yeah, what we just saw was a glimpse of the future. So therefore it wasn't a spoiler, but it was rather a genius setup as to why it happened. Some of you think, they gave away the ending. Well, what fun is that? But you'll see. You'll see, it's a really, really good way of introducing the game. Well, the story, of course, is you are in the nation of Ylis, which is basically run by Crom's family. Yes, he is the lord of this game, just like Marth and Ike and Elliewood. And of course, you're the guys who's supposed to be helping with the avatar. Sorry, we're still not the lord, unfortunately. Well, in this struggle of war that's been trying to go on here, and fighting bandits that were supposedly sent by Plagia, you face these things called the Ryzen. What are the Ryzen? They're dead soldiers. Yep, you face zombies in this game. Yes, a new thing for Fire Emblem, I would say. I don't think there was at least any zombies. But regardless, when you're fighting these, suddenly a boy jumps out of the portal. He calls himself Marth. Not that Marth. That Marth was, of course, a dead king from way before, as referenced by Crom here. In this one, well, this one seems more childish. Look at his voice.
I'm about to save your life.
His voice is more kiddish. That Marth was way older, at least. I don't think it would sound like that. At least I hope not. So this is a story of what are the Ryzen? How will this war wage between Ylis and Plagia? How does this all relate to how you kill Crom in the future? And this is basically Fire Emblem Awakening story. So let's talk about the gameplay. Of course, like any Fire Emblem game, this is a strategy RPG. What does this mean? It means you have a grid map. You have soldiers, a whole variety of soldiers, each individual one separate from each other, all having stories and backgrounds to them and everything. From knight to cavalier to paladin to cleric to dancer and of course the Lord, which is Crom in this game. How you win maps? Well, you basically take your soldiers and basically kill off all the enemy soldiers. Of course, it's not that simple, as each class has its own weaknesses and strengths, such as the Knight, a freaking tank that can basically take so much crap from everyone. Of course, it's weak to magic on the other hand. And then there's the magic users, they're weak against a lot of the physical attacks, but very deadly against all knights and armor and whatever you may call it. And you've got, of course, a weapon trinity. Axes are weak against swords, swords are weak against lances, and lances are weak against axes. However, that's how you win maps, basically. Just take your soldiers and go through it. Each of these lasts quite a while too, and you can use the environment to your advantage. This includes using the forest, land, and water. And of course, one thing I really love that they've done with this game is now you're able to pair up your unit. You are now able to put two units together, such as putting a knight with a cavalier, where his defense will be added on to the cavalier's defense and making him stronger. And when they attack, the cavalier, for example, can help the knight attack, and therefore they would do much more damage together rather than doing it alone. Of course, just like the Sacred Stones, there's actually an overworld where you can use a map to play in. Here you can go through your main missions, of course, and you've got Paralog, aka the side missions. And of course, you could grind facing Ryzen. At least there is some variety here, unlike the shitty grinding that was in the Sacred Stones. Other than that, of course, you can go to your barracks, have your people talk to each other to help gain support conversation, gain better weapons, buy weapons on the map, basically organize your units, have support conversations. And speaking of support conversations, they've really updated them in this game. In which case now you have a marriage system. You can actually have one of each of your male units marry one of each of the female units. Of course, each unit has, as usual, only a certain amount of people can speak to, and of course a certain number of people you can marry to. And it will help you when your characters marry each other. Yeah, in which case they'll support each other better in battle, and it will affect certain things that will happen in the game later on. I won't say what it is because it's a spoiler, but it will be important. And of course the return of the classic split job system, where you can choose to be one of many jobs when you promote. And what's new is you can change classes and using second seals rather than the regular master seals. In this case, you could change, even when you're maxed out on your second class, to some other class altogether. You can do this with any character. Everyone can change. Like every 3DS game these days, it seems to have a spot pass feature of its own. What is the spot pass feature? Well, in this case, you get almost all the major characters from every Fire Emblem game to date. That's right. As you spot pass, they'll come in a list from your menu, in which case you can face many different classical units, whether it be Marth, whether it be Ike, or so many of the classic characters, they'll come up. You can face them. If you beat them in battle, you get to keep them for yourself as units you can use. How amazing is that? You can use every character pretty much in this series in your arsenal. Of course, some of the characters aren't there by its spot pass though. Some of them are by the DLC. Come on, it's just DLC. Okay, granted it costs money and so you guys don't like paying stuff, as Capcom has pulled too much bullshit about it in the past. Of course, this isn't Capcom though. Well, how is the DLC? Well, with the DLC, you can get a whole variety of different new chapters. From ones that give you more money, to ones that give you more experience, to ones that are about a whole swimsuit chapter, and even one that talks about certain events that are separate from the game but related. This game basically is so jam-packed with stuff. So what do I think of Fire Emblem Awakening compared to Fire Emblem the Blazing Sword, as they would call in Japan? Well, in my opinion, it actually beats the original one. Fire Emblem Awakening has just shoved so much in it. My biggest complaint throughout the last few games was the fact that the story wasn't as epic as that one. This did it. This, in my opinion, is one of the most epic stories in the series, if not one of the most epic stories I've played in recent gaming, actually. And of course, amongst other improvements, gameplays and everything, it just adds on to it, making it actually better than this game right here. I have, of course, heard from other Fire Emblem fans that some of the ones on the Super Nintendo were better. However, I have not ever played those, as they were never localized here. Sure, I have other means I could play them by, but I am really actually hoping for Nintendo to one day make a remake of those, just like they did with Shadow Dragons, except actually good. And pretty much you've got one of the best packages in gaming I've seen as of recent. So I give this game a 9 out of 10. It stands, in my opinion, as the best 3DS game tied with Super Mario 3D Land. And I freaking love Super Mario 3D Land. I freaking love it. So, I've been the Obsessive Gamer here, reviewing an old 3DS game at this point, unfortunately. Kind of late too, but I reviewed it regardless. So, see you soon. E3's coming up.